Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point and an interview with the General Secretary of the Communist Party Marxist and its Rajya Sabha leader Sitaram Yechury. Over the next 40 minutes, I shall question Mr. Yechury on a range of subjects. What's happening in Hyderabad University and JNU, Kanhaiya Kumar, the Arun Jaitley and Venkaiah Naidu critiques, criticisms of the Muslim community by BJP ministers and MLAs, and of course, developments in Parliament. And then, if time permits, I'll also touch upon the forthcoming elections in Bengal and Kerala. Mr. Yechury, in 3 recent interviews you've said, and I'm quoting you, the BJP has used JNU as a launchpad to unleash an insurrection against the Constitution. Now, many people share your concern about developments in JNU and earlier Hyderabad University. They're worried about what they see as the rising tide of intolerance in the country. But to call all of this an insurrection against the Constitution is surely a wild exaggeration.
No, I mean, not at all, not at all. And that's why I use the word launchpad. You know, I mean, it is not the insurrection that is full-blown yet, but this is the beginning. These are the signals. And if you don't catch them at the early signals, then all of us are in for big trouble. I mean, why do I say that? Because what are they actually targeting in JNU? The whole philosophy and the ideology of the Sangh, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, the RSS, of which the BJP is only the political arm, is to replace history with mythology, Hindu mythology, replace philosophy with theology. And to achieve that, they require to control and change the character of our universities.
You've gone one step further. In another interview, you said that the situation in the country today is worse than the emergency. Your words were, we face a much bigger attack. Well, once again, I put it to you, you're overstating things.
No, in some parts, I'm not saying there's a large-scale attack against democratic rights like it happened during emergency, but I can foresee that coming.
So these are fears, not a description of the situation today?
But this is where it is going to lead up to, if there is no resistance.
Can I put this to you? Today, unlike 1975, we don't have a compliant judiciary. We have a very outspoken print. We have a 24 hours alert news channels. And in addition, you have social media. Surely, in today's circumstances, to fear a second emergency, leave aside something worse, is unrealistic.
But I'll take that with a pinch of salt. If you look at the bail order and the judges given in that order, I mean, you know, there are certain serious doubts of what is happening also in the judiciary. You've discussed that earlier, and we all know what has happened there.
So you're saying...
But I'm not saying that this is emergency yet. What I'm saying is that is why is the launch pad, we are moving in that direction.
Okay, let me put the opposite viewpoint to you. Writing in the Economic Times on Saturday, Venkaiah Naidu said, and I'm not going to quote him, that what's happened at JNU and Hyderabad University is a sinister plot to create confrontation within our society. He says those slogans were not meant to protest the death penalty, but a clear call for the disintegration of India.
You see, I don't know on what basis they are saying. What were the slogans shouted in Hyderabad Central University? Yes, we have had our differences with the Ambedkar Students Association there. I was there 3 months ago, physically present and discussing with Rohit Vemula and a whole lot of students about Ambedkar, about Marx, about what is to be done, of various things. I mean, you got to engage the youngsters, no?
You say that he's saying too much when he says these slogans aren't just all about the death penalty. He interprets them as being about the disintegration of India. You're saying that's going too far?
Absolutely. It's not only going too far, it's a fanciful thinking. You see, the reason why I say much of these tapes have now been shown to be fabrications.
I'll come to that in a moment's time. There's a second critique that's made yesterday by Arun Jaitley. Arun Jaitley says that what we've witnessed is a battle of ideologies and the BJP has won. And he says proof of this is that students who shouted alleged anti-national slogans went to jail and came back proclaiming Jai Hind and waving the flag. This, he says, is the BJP's victory.
This is a Machiavellian interpretation. Before going to jail, they had the national flag and were talking about raising slogans of Jai Hind. When they came back, they did the same. So it's not a question of battle of ideas, they're winning, but it is a battle of ideas.
But Jaitley, you're saying, is being Machiavellian.
The logic is Machiavellian, that he is put forward saying their victory, that they have won. But the battle of ideas is correct. It's a battle of ideas, and please, I mean, this is important to know. It's a battle of visions. Are we for the secular democratic republic, or are we to bring in its place the Hindu Rashtra? That is the point.
You know what he says about the battle of visions? He's gone on further to say, and I'm talking about Arun Jaitley, that in fact the communists in India have had a tradition and history, A, of opposing democracy in the country, and B, of speaking against the country's fundamental national interests. He says, you did this in 42 when you opposed Quit India, you did it in 62 during the Chinese War, you did it in 75 when the CPI supported Indira Gandhi during the emergency.
That you asked the CPI has corrected itself, and they said that was a mistake. That's a separate...
42, 62?
Yeah, 42, 62. Both are patent propaganda lies. 62, what did we say? The problems with China can be resolved only across the table and not through armed conflict.
So Jaitley is lying?
That is it.
Jaitley is lying?
I said it in the floor of the House when Bhairav Singh Shekhawat was in the chair as the country's vice president. This is on record.
But say it again. Jaitley is lying.
Lying, or God knows what he's saying. I mean, I've not said, I heard what he said, but what you have told me...
I've repeated what he said.
If that is the case, it is untruth.
That is a very Churchillian etiquette way of saying he's lying. Why don't you say he's lying?
That unfortunately, you're more well-versed with that language than I am, Mr. Thapa.
But you're shying away from the tougher word.
Oh, no, but lie, yes. What else is untruth? I mean, that is what it is.
A politer version.
A bit politer version, maybe.
Let's come to the slogans that we heard most recently in JNU. I want to discuss them with you because I want to try and understand how you view them. I want to try and understand your thinking. To begin with, there are the slogans which say things like Azadi for Kashmir, Pakistan Zindabad. Are those anti-national?
No, you see, Pakistan Zindabad, I mean, tell me, is it not India's official policy to have good relations with Pakistan? If we want good relations, good neighborly relations with Pakistan, shouting Zindabad, is it anti-national?
So Pakistan Zindabad is not anti-national?
No. I mean, you shout Zindabad whenever there is anything to do with any country with whom you have friendly relations. Or you break diplomatic relations and declare that Pakistan is an enemy, no diplomatic relations, we will treat it as an enemy. And don't say that we want good relations with Pakistan.
I'm only clarifying, I'm not questioning you. You're therefore coming to the conclusion that saying Pakistan Zindabad is not anti-national.
No. Therefore, to say you're anti-national, unpatriotic, because you've said, if at all they were said, number one. The first point is to prove the veracity of that.
I'll come to that later.
No, not later. Because we are going by the presumption that that is all true.
I'm not even presuming it's true. I'm simply asking you a question to gauge your thinking. Do you, Sitaram Yechury, the General Secretary of the CPM, the Parliamentary Rajya Sabha leader of your party, view the slogan Pakistan Zindabad as anti-national?
No, but why? Why is that the dispute?
That's the question. It's not the dispute. It's the question I'm asking to gauge your thinking.
No. What is the way of my thinking? If you want good relations with Pakistan, calling Zindabad, calling that country Zindabad, it's wrong, as I told you.
Let me come to a second set
of slogans. If you say India Murdabad, then it's anti-national.
But Pakistan Zindabad is not.
No, it's not. But and I'll show you
don't.
Our court verdict. So you're talking of independent judiciary.
No, on this issue. Balwant Singh of 95 on Khalistan Zindabad, I accept that. Let me ask you about a second set of slogans. And again, I'm not saying they were said. I'm simply trying to gauge your thinking about how you view them. Whether they were said or not is another matter. These are slogans whereby it says, Kashmir ki azadi tak, Bharat ki barbadi tak, Jang ladenge, jang ladenge.
Of course that's wrong.
Anti-national?
Of course. I mean that is against our country's interest. That is against our country's interest.
What about Bharat tere tukde tukde honge inshallah?
Obviously that is. And I've said it in JNU in those meetings. Our members who were cut to pieces by such terrorists, we said हमारी शरीर टुकड़े टुकड़े हो सकते हैं लेकिन देश के टुकड़े टुकड़े होने हम नहीं देंगे.
So to say this is anti-national.
Of course. Of course it's not in our interest.
Then let me ask you this. If it is anti-national to say this, what sort of action is required? Criminal, legal, penal? Or should these slogans be criticized but then ignored?
No. I mean, if such slogans are there, you see, you reason out first. Otherwise, they have to be treated as an offense.
Criminal action?
Yeah, I mean, criminal action, or to what extent that you will go, or to persuade them to change, if not through force to make them change. But all that depends again, number one, whether they are correct. That is these allegations correct? Now, number two.
I'll come to that in a moment.
Who are the ones who gave the slogan?
I'll come to that in a moment.
No, again.
I'm separating because I'm trying to be analytical.
Mr. Thapa, if these are not correct, then what are we discussing for?
First discussing whether these slogans themselves per se are offensive and anti-national, and you've confirmed that the latter two are offensive. Pakistan Zindabad is not, but the latter two are. You also have confirmed that action is needed, but what sort of action is open? It could be criminal, legal, but it might also be simply reasoning with them and convincing them.
And legal, definitely.
Let's now come to the critical question of the doctored videos, because that will determine whether these are actually said or whether these are fake and manipulated. Now, 3 out of 7 doctored videos according to the, 3 out of 7 videos according to the Delhi government are doctored. Some people say all of them are doctored. Does the police and does the government have a duty to investigate and establish who doctored the videos? And secondly, to take action against them?
Of course. We have demanded both. Now that this has come out, that these are doctored, the first job that the police has to do is to establish who doctored. And not only doctored, who propagated.
But
no, that is also under law.
But it's not happening. It's not happening. The police are not doing anything.
That is what confirms my point, whether these were genuine slogans that were raised or not raised.
But what are you, as an opposition politician, doing about the fact that you demanded an investigation into the doctored videos and it hasn't happened? What are you doing about that?
We'll fight for that. We are fighting for that.
How?
But both through the pressure of the movement, which is happening in JNU.
But it's not yielding any results at the moment.
Yeah, well, that is the clearest example of the character of this government and the motivation.
Maybe, but what about
don't say motivation? That is important.
I'm asking, what about ensuring the investigation happens? What are you going to do to ensure this investigation
happens? Public opinion, build up public opinion, and through public agitation, pressurize the government to do that.
Will you raise the issue in Parliament again?
Of course I will.
Tomorrow when
I've raised it. I'll raise it again tomorrow. Tomorrow onwards, whenever.
A second aspect of these doctored videos is the fact that some channels chose to show them without verifying their content. One channel, it's alleged, actually may have doctored the videos itself. Do you think action should be taken against the channel?
Yes.
What sort of action?
That according to law, I believe, according to Article 200 of the Broadcasting Act, I mean, there are penal actions that can follow.
Again, neither the police nor the government have taken any steps.
Yes, that is why today we have been told that the Chief Minister of Delhi, the Delhi government, on the basis of their magisterial inquiry, which established this doctoring through forensic investigations, they have proceeded by filing charges against 3 media houses who have actually propagated this.
What about the central government? The police in Delhi comes under the central government. They've done nothing so far.
That is it. They're not doing anything so far. Does it not explain to you the character and the motivation?
Very possibly, but what my question is, what are you going to do about that?
It is launch of an insurrection in the constitution precisely on that basis.
What are you going to do about that?
Pressurize them, raise it in the parliament.
How?
Through people's pressure, which we always do, and through the parliament, outside the parliament.
Can I put this to you? All you can do is to launch pressure outside Parliament, to launch pressure in Parliament, but if the government doesn't act, there's nothing you can do.
No, that's it. The government only exposes itself more.
Maybe, but they don't act, and that's the point. And the people that they don't act, but the people they don't act against then go scot-free. The people who manipulated and doctored the videos go scot-free. The channels who showed it go scot-free. Everyone goes scot-free.
Isn't it true? Their own ministers and members of Parliament who have been hate speech indulging, which is a criminal offence. Are they not scot-free? Are they not scot-free today?
But I'll come to that in a moment. Let's stick to this. I'll come to that. I want to now focus on Kanhaiya Kumar specifically. You mentioned a moment ago the nature of the conditions with which Justice Pratibha Rani had given him bail late last week. She laid down 2 stringent conditions. Firstly, that he must not do anything actively or passively which can be termed as anti-national. And secondly, she said, as president of JNU Students' Union, he will make all efforts to control anti-national activities in the campus. And a whole host of lawyers, including a former senior Supreme Court judge, have said these are ludicrous conditions, they are unwarranted and they are unjustified. But so far, your party is silent.
No, we have come out openly criticizing the judgment. We have said it, and I am going to say it tomorrow in Parliament, if it's permitted, That it is actually telling Kanhaiya Kumar, you are in an open jail called JNU. And then saying that it's his responsibility to control anybody raising any slogan. Now you have on tape, you are saying there are 6 hooded men. Allegations have come today that maybe these are from the government's own agencies. Even then, we are asking the government to investigate. They are refusing to.
So once again,
doesn't that confirm my apprehension and an assault on the Indian Constitution?
It may well, but it confirms something else as well, that once again on this issue, just as you said you would do about the doctoring, just as you said you would do about the channels who've shown those doctored videos, you're going to raise this judgment and the conditions about bail in Parliament. The government will listen to you, they won't act, and that will be the end of the matter. There's a helplessness that I'm suggesting that you face. Your limitations are coming to the fore against this government.
No, Mr. Thapa. That is exactly what happened during emergency with then Prime Minister Mrs. Indira Gandhi. Exactly.
It took the people and an election to get rid of her. You're going to have to wait for that.
People's movement to force an election to get rid of her.
Well, let's not get into the question what creates the elections. That's a side issue.
We were all part of that.
I don't think the people's movement forced the election. Many people believe that Indira Gandhi did it under false advice from the IB. Many people did it because she genuinely believes she's popular. The mistake of calling the election was hers. You can't claim credit for it.
No, I'm not. But the pressure was such that she had to call.
Let's come back to Kanhaiya Kumar because I want to stick with him for a while. He's become today an icon, a hero. How do you explain to yourself the fact that a 28-year-old who 4 weeks ago was unknown and might never have attracted national attention today is a household figure right across this country? How do you explain that to yourself?
The only illustration of Prime Minister Modi's slogan of Make in India, that you've made an icon in India, and his government did, by what and how they persecuted and went after Kanhaiya Kumar.
Modi made Kanhaiya Kumar by mishandling the case.
Yes, absolutely. And what is the sympathy in the country that is getting the reason why he's become an icon and a hero? An innocent boy pursuing his studies, doing his PhD. You get after him saying it's anti-national and you say it is a crime. And then finally, if it is a sedition charge, remember Mr. Thapa, if it is a sedition charge, a bail is impossible. And bail so soon is impossible.
Except for the fact that Justice Pratibha Rani in her bail order actually assumes, and this was confirmed on air by the Additional Solicitor General looking after the case, Sanjay Jain, she actually assumes he's guilty. Despite that, she's bent over, as she says, to be conservative. So she's assuming guilt and yet giving bail.
How?
Well,
if the guilt is sedition, if the guilt is sedition, how can you give bail?
Come back to Kanhaiya Kumar. How much of the stardom that he's got, the celebrity status he enjoys, the adulation and affection, is because of his own internal qualities, his incredible charm, his brilliant oratory, his intelligence in handling questions, and also those wicked, mischievous eyes that playfully play pranks, including teasing and taunting the Prime Minister.
Very, very true. All these characteristics are correct, what you've described. And he is a very endearing person. You know, he is. I mean, if you meet him outside of this media...
That is what has communicated itself and captured the country's attention.
Absolutely. I mean, here is an innocent, straightforward person coming from the background that he comes from. Mother is, for heaven's sake, an Anganwadi worker.
The romance is enormous. And this is why you announced to the Hindu on Saturday that you were going to ensure that he campaigns for the left. And I want to put this to you. Is it right and fair that you should exploit his popularity? And secondly, is it right and fair that you should deflect his attention from his PhD, which he himself says is his first priority?
Unfortunately,
you're cashing in.
Not at all. You please understand. You please, I just don't want to comment on the level of reporting, whatever it is.
You said it to the
No, that's what did I say? Kanhaiya is a left activist. As a left activist, he'll campaign. And he's already campaigning. You think all this that he's saying is not a campaign?
Except that
it's a campaign for India as we know it.
But
it's a campaign. It's a campaign that the left is standing up for these rights.
There's a difference between doing this in a university among students and raising your voice in that way, which is what he's done, and between going to Kerala and to Bengal as part of CPM attempts to try and campaign for an election. You want him to do the latter.
No, there is no way of his traveling around to Bengal, Kerala, etc.
You're not going to do that?
No, he is going to remain here, and what he says, Kerala is watching, Bengal is watching, and that is what I mean by campaign.
But you clarified something very important. He will not be going to Kerala, he will not be going to Bengal.
Not with this court order yet.
He will stay in Delhi.
No, I mean, he has to.
So he won't be campaigning in the states where elections are happening.
Please understand, Mr. Thapa. With this court order, he should not and he cannot leave here. But he is campaigning. All that he is saying is there in Bengal and Kerala.
That's a different sort of campaign, but you clarified.
That's a powerful campaign.
Let's come now to something you mentioned a moment ago. I want to go into it a bit more deeply. It's the second development that's happened that's deeply concerned people. The speeches made last Sunday by BJP MPs Ram Shankar Katheria and Babu Lal, and at least one BJP MLA, Jagan Prasad Garg, calling Muslims demons, calling them descendants of Ravan, promising a final battle to take on Muslims. Now, Home Minister Rajnath Singh in Parliament has seen nothing wrong with these speeches. He's defended them. Clearly, he intends to do nothing.
Exactly.
So my question is, will Sitaram Yechury and the rest of the opposition leave it there, or do you plan to pursue this further?
We pursue it further.
How?
I interrupted the Home Minister during his speech that you are referring to. And I told him, sir, don't take a class. He's a teacher. I said, don't take by profession, he used to be. I said, don't take a class on what India used to be or history of that India. What is today's India?
That I understand. It was a good telling debating point. But how will you pursue this matter? But how will you pursue the matter further?
That is why, Mr. Thapa, I think I'll rest my case because you proved the point that this is an insurrection against the Constitution.
Well, no.
You see, I'll tell you why. These speeches by people who are holding public office, by members of Parliament and Assembly. If they are saying all this, you are not doing anything.
Mr. Yechury, you're missing the point. I'm not saying you haven't criticized Mr.
Not
Rajnath.
criticized.
You criticized him effectively. I'm saying beyond criticizing him, and words don't matter to him, the water of a duck's back, how can you pursue this further?
By this pressure that is mounting on this government, they have to act.
Okay, let me put this to you.
They have to act in India's interest.
Well, you say the government has to act. Sadly, this is not the first time BJP ministers, MPs, MLAs have spoken in this way. Except the first occasion concerning Niranjan Jyoti way back in 2014, when the Prime Minister did speak out. Thereafter, he's been silent.
Absolutely.
And although you've criticized him for his silence, there's nothing that you can do to make the Prime Minister speak. I'm saying that once again, this illustrates your limitations as an opposition and your helplessness.
See, again, Mr. Thapa, you're only talking within the confines of the Parliament. Outside of the Parliament, the people's movement that will be built up, that's why I drew the parallel with the...
That will be built up. That's the future tense.
It's being built up.
Where's it being built up?
Of course. You'll have to just turn around and see there. And your cameras must have to go there.
The problem, Mr. Yechury, is when you turn around, what you see is Mr. Modi's overwhelming majority in the Lok Sabha. With his allies, he has over 330 seats, which is why, despite the fact you can hold up the Rajya Sabha and disrupt that house, he's got such a majority in the Lok Sabha. He doesn't care about your criticism of his ministers and his MPs and his MLAs. He lets them say what they want. He doesn't interfere. And despite your criticism, as I said, it's water off his back.
The more he doesn't care about it, the more people care. And that is what they are the only ones in a parliamentary democracy of our nature that can teach them a lesson. And they will teach them a lesson.
In other words, as an opposition, your effectiveness depends entirely on the people responding.
Always.
Not on anything you yourselves can do.
No.
That's the limitation and the restriction and the helplessness I'm talking about.
In the Parliament, whatever happens, and with the majority also Mr. Modi got in the Parliament that you're talking about, it's all because of what happens with the people. And we are also people.
So your real hope is to change the mood of the people in time.
Mood has changed.
For the 2019 election.
No, mood has changed.
That will be the answer. Nothing that you can do more immediately.
That it may not be as far as 2019. You can also wait and watch.
People would say you're just living in hope.
That's what they said.
You really are saying to me that you could remove, in quotations, the Modi government before 2019?
Wait and see. It all depends again on the people.
Wait and see for what?
People's movement.
Which is invisible at the moment.
Well, you train your cameras there, it will be visible. And the other thing, please tell you, as a student in JNU during emergency, when we said we'll fight, we'll win, we'll restore democracy. This is exactly what we heard. There's no hope. I mean,
and you
just
didn't
can't wait.
restore democracy.
And they said you go
Indira
abroad.
Gandhi made a mistake and held elections 1 year ahead of necessary and lost.
Come on.
But let's come back to this. I want to talk to you specifically about Parliament.
About?
Parliament.
Yeah.
The budget session is on. You said to Frontline in the issue of the 18th of March, and I'm quoting you, the principal player that does not allow Parliament to function is the BJP in the government. Most Indians would turn around and say, the principal player that doesn't allow Parliament to function is the opposition, amongst which a leading member is Sitaram Yechury. On what basis are you pinning the blame on the government?
Parliament session begins on certain day. A week before that, you do this in JNU. Do you want the Parliament to function? You create the agenda for Parliament's disruption before every Parliament session begins.
Is this Machiavellian again?
Absolutely.
But why would the government create an agenda to hold up Parliament when it's the government's legislation that suffers, which doesn't suit the government, it only suits you?
No.
So why would they do this?
No, because more than their legislations, Parliament is the forum where the government is made accountable. Parliament not functioning helps the government most.
How?
But because the government is not answerable.
Except that what happens in Parliament is that it doesn't function in the sense of legislation being passed, but critical debates over JNU and Hyderabad have happened, critical debates over treatment of Muslims have happened, and that accountability the government doesn't escape from. So your logic doesn't apply.
No, we force them this. Otherwise, in the earlier session, even that is not. And please remember, even now during this entire period, every day there is one bill being passed in the Rajya Sabha. Even in the Rajya Sabha, there is a bill being passed. But please.
Nonetheless, you insist it's the government that is disrupting and holding up, not the opposition.
Yes.
And you insist that the agenda is to not let Parliament function.
No, the agenda is to appear that we want the GST bill, but the opposition is not allowing.
So the government is creating a situation of pretense victimhood for itself.
And please ask that question again. For 6 long years, as the Chief Minister of Gujarat, the biggest opposition to the GST was Mr. Narendra Modi.
I'll come to GST later.
Ask that question, whether it's changed from there. No, not once has any answer come.
I'll come to GST later. It's an issue that has been much discussed and debated. I want to come to something more topical, the Aadhaar bill.
But not the point I'm saying.
I want to come to something more topical, the Aadhaar bill, which the government tabled on Thursday, but they've tabled it as a money bill so that they can circumvent your holding it up in the Rajya Sabha. Now, you've objected to it. I want to put to you the government viewpoint. They say that the Aadhaar bill primarily is about creating a mechanism for the disbursement of funds from the Consolidated Fund of India for payment of subsidies. Many would say that clearly fits the purposes and conditions of a money bill. How can you object?
Why do you want a biometric analysis for this? Why do you want the data?
To ensure there's no leakage.
Oh, I see.
So the money reaches those it's intended
You'll
for.
go through the Aadhaar in order to also ensure the gene pool characteristics of your entire family. No, I mean, what are you talking about?
But as specified in the bill, it falls under the conditions of a money bill. How do you dispute that?
No.
You may have doubts about the misuse of the biometric data. That's another matter.
Not only me having doubts. Not only me. Please wait a minute. When the telephones were being tapped of today's leader of the Rajya Sabha and the finance minister, it is he who wrote this issue and saying Aadhaar bill the BJP will oppose because it has A, B, C, D dangers.
I understand that. And
how do you understand that?
I understand that.
And then why are they bringing
a good debating point in using Arun Jaitley against
not
Arun Jaitley.
debating.
But my issue is a different one.
No, not debating.
But my issue is a different one. I'm saying that if they present the Aadhaar bill as a way of creating a mechanism for the disbursal of funds from the Consolidated Fund for the payment of subsidies, that clearly falls under the conditions of a money bill.
Yes.
They've so designed it that actually you don't have an opposition to be called a money bill anymore. That's the problem.
No, that is the problem, and that is what we have said in the Parliament, and we are fighting for it, and I've also moved for it, saying that that particular clause, article in the Indian Constitution
should be revised.
Yes. That constitution should be amended.
But that's a long-term approach. It's not going to stop the Aadhaar bill.
No, but stopping the Aadhaar bill, we'll only have to see the reason of doing it by appealing to their own reasoning.
Well, the matter will depend on the discretion of the Speaker, which you have to accept. And when she decides one way or the other, there's nothing further you can do.
She's decided.
She hasn't as yet. She'll announce it, but she hasn't.
We've known the speaker deciding on these matters.
A second issue
so
that
the country
you've
is not going to be surprised.
Let me come to a second issue that you've raised. A second issue that you've raised is you've demanded, along with other opposition leaders, a privilege motion against Smriti Irani for the manner in which she has responded to the Rohit Vemula case. You've alleged that she misled the House when she first claimed that there was a Dalit member of the committee that decided to expel Rohit and the others. You've alleged that she's misled the House when she claimed that no doctor was given access to Rohit's body till 7:30 in the morning. The problem is, several days, if not a week and more, have gone by, and neither the Lok Sabha Speaker nor the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha have responded to your demand for a privilege motion. How do you interpret their silence?
No, you see, the privilege motion thing, there's a very long process. It's not something that can be decided, in a minute. There is a procedure.
So you're not suspicious about the silence from the Speaker or the Chairman?
Not yet. There's a procedure.
How much more time do you give them?
About maximum a week.
In other words,
my privilege motion
during this part of the session.
We are hoping during this part of the session, this should be referred to the Privileges Committee for examination. Examination means they'll all be summoned.
What happens?
And please, 1 minute, just give me a minute. There is an additional charge that I have made, because the minister has made personal charges against me.
And you want that referred as well?
No. That is also there with the chairman of the Rajya Sabha. Imputing motives which has led, please, 1 second, which has been the signal for the RSS troll brigade to start the trolling and death calls and threatening calls and all that.
You want this to be part of the many issues that are raised in the privilege motion?
No, it is a privilege motion. How can the minister on the floor of the House make all these charges?
Let me put this to you. At the moment, there is silence from the Speaker and the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha. You're hoping, in fact, by this interview, you've actually said you're insisting that they must give an answer before this part of the session ends.
Absolutely.
What happens if they don't? What will you do?
Then you will see. And then
what will we see?
What happens in the House?
But beyond holding up the House, are you going to actually raise a question against the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, Mr. Ansari?
No. The point is the Rajya Sabha chairman will have to give an answer.
But if he doesn't, then what?
He will, I'm sure.
Well, how do you know?
I'm sure that is his responsibility.
But he may not do it in the time frame you've set.
Well, I'm asking him, requesting him to do it in the time frame.
And if he doesn't, is what I'm asking.
Well, I think he will.
And if he doesn't?
Well, my confidence that he will is as good as your confidence that he won't.
Let's then at that point take a quick break. In the limited time available, I want to come back and talk to you about the elections that are going to be held starting next month in Bengal and Kerala. Yeah. How will you fare? And more importantly, are you worried that Bengal at least could see a rising saffron tide? We'll be back in a moment's time. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching To The Point and an exclusive interview with the General Secretary of the CPM and its Rajya Sabha leader, Sitaram Yechury. Mr. Yechury, in the limited time left, let's come to the elections that are going to be held starting next month in West Bengal and Kerala. Do you believe in Kerala, where governments change every election, your time has come and you will win?
Of course, and we are very confident.
So you rely on the one poll that's come out, See Voter in India TV, you believe it's an accurate reflection?
No, not only that. We think that the last 5 years of experience of the people of Kerala, it's been a government which is unprecedented by Kerala standards in terms of corruption, lack of governance. And given this, we think there is a very deep urge in the people of Kerala for a change.
The opposite seems to be the case if you go at least by the poll in Bengal. Would you accept that the best that you can hope for in Bengal, and that is in a sense your biggest challenge, not Kerala, is that your performance in 2011 will be bettered, but Mamta will be re-elected anyway?
Well, let us see. Elections in India are something that the best of the, whatever you call them, physiologists or physiologists have never been able to predict. But there is a very, very, very big churning going on amongst the people in Bengal.
But there's a very interesting difference in the answer you gave to my Kerala question and the one you've given to Bengal. With regard to Kerala, you were absolutely confident you're going to win.
Correct.
with regard to Bengal, you're hoping something may happen when the campaign begins in the next month and a half or two that could change the situation. The confidence is not the same in Bengal.
Something is already happening, but the confidence is not the same. I agree. The confidence is not the same because in the last 2 years we've lost 171 of our comrades.
Another reason why the confidence is not the same is because your own partymen, starting with your last chief minister, have publicly and repeatedly called for an alliance with Congress. Now, that would send out a very contradictory and confusing message to Kerala. And my question is this: can you fight Congress in one state and ally it with another and do both at the same time?
You see, number one, alliance with the Congress or a front with them is ruled out in Bengal. That we have done. We have only told...
You're saying that categorically?
Yes, yes. We are saying...
what happens to the Buddhadev Bhattacharyas who keep saying they want one and they need one? And Biman Bose too.
I'll tell you, we discussed in our settled committee, we had given the slogans that the ousting the Trinamool government, saving Bengal, ousting the BJP government, saving India. All the democratic forces who are willing to achieve this objective, we have appealed to them to come together.
But short of an alliance with Congress?
Now, what it will be, what will be that understanding, our appeal to democratic forces, that we have said that the Bengal unit will discuss.
But it is not an alliance.
And no, not an alliance or a front. But that Bengal unit will discuss and will convey to us and we'll take the final decision.
So I'm repeating for clarity, some form of understanding, some form of working together, some form possibly of campaigning together is possible with all democratic forces including Congress, but a formal alliance is ruled out.
Formal alliance and for a front is ruled out.
What about agreement on seat sharing?
All that will depend. We worked out the mechanism.
That's possible. That's possible.
The Bengal committee, our party committee, will make the proposal after their discussions with others.
Quite right. So there the door is open depending upon the proposal they make.
I cannot say anything. We said that we'll take the final decision at the Politburo level.
The Politburo will take the final decision depending upon
based on the proposal they send.
Absolutely. I'm just clarifying for the audience. An alliance is ruled out full stop, but the door is still potentially, theoretically open to some sort of seat sharing.
Do not interpret it, Mr. Thapa. All that I'm saying is that this is the call we have given. All those who are willing to share that call, our state committee will work out what will be the method, form of it and make a proposal. On that, we'll take the final decision.
And if the state committee makes a proposal of seat sharing, the Politburo will consider it. And at this moment, you're not saying the Politburo will rule it out. It could accept it.
I'm saying that we will finally decide.
Absolutely.
We are waiting for that proposal, whatever comes.
So theoretically, it's possible. That's all I'm saying.
Theoretically, it's also not possible.
Absolutely. There is no decision on seat sharing. There is no decision on seat sharing, but there is a clear decision, no alliance.
No alliance.
That's the clear thing. No alliance, full stop.
Mm.
Recent polls suggest, and actually there's only been one credible poll, See Voter on India Today TV, that your vote share in Bengal could come down by just over 5%. Even Mamta's vote share is declining, but not by that much. But the BJP's has more than doubled. Are you worried that slowly but steadily Bengal is turning saffron?
No. I think that survey has been dated. And things have changed, and a lot of water flows very rapidly in the Ganga in Bengal.
They call it the Hoogly there.
Exactly. So it flows
the problem with Hoogly is it rhymes with googly, and it could work against you.
No, it could work against them. But it could work
but you don't fear a resurgence of the BJP in Bengal?
No. That phase, initially when the Modi government came, there was a hope that the BJP would be able to resist Mamta more than we can.
That is no longer the case.
That is gone. And on the contrary, there is a clear-cut evidence of a match fixing between the BJP and the Trinamool Congress.
Which you think leaves open room for you?
Much better.
My last question, now moving away deliberately from Bengal and Kerala, I'm going to focus in my last question on what the press, television in particular, calls the battle of the speeches, the Rahul-Narendra Modi rivalry that was on full frontal display last week. Who do you think got the better in their speeches? Rahul of Narendra Modi or Narendra Modi in his response?
Beyond that question of yours, let me say one thing, which I think is very important. For the Prime Minister to be preoccupied in answering a speech, just one speech in the entire debate, that is itself an admission that he is rattled.
Rahul rattled him.
Obviously, the Prime Minister's entire speech was more as a response to that speech and not on the basis of what a huge number of MPs have spoken during the course of the debate.
So this also means, does it not, that Rahul has discovered through the use of sarcasm, wit, irony, satire, a capacity A, to rattle the government, and B, perhaps dent the government and the Prime Minister's image. He's discovered that he has a key that he can turn.
Well, all I will say is, beyond that I will not, but all that I will say is that his speech this time in Parliament has been the best parliamentary intervention by Rahul Gandhi.
And it rattled the Prime Minister.
Yes, it has rattled the Prime Minister. That was clear in his reply.
One last question. Has Rahul, therefore, to use a colloquialism, come of parliamentary age as a leader of the opposition?
Well, you see, in the Indian Parliament, you never come of age. You have to keep on coming of age.
You mean you have to keep growing?
You have to.
So there are miles to go before Rahul can claim he's earned the right to sleep.
And I think take the lesson from the great-grandfather. I mean, who,
so
despite everything...
Your conclusion is a good speech, his best ever, but there's a lot more Rahul has to still learn.
Not only Rahul, any parliamentarian has to learn.
Mr. Yechury, a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.